Doing the presentations, and it never ceases to amaze me to see the involvement that we have from the community. So it's a great program, and it's not possible without your involvement in it. Deputy Adams already mentioned a couple of people that are here. I'll go ahead and just go through them again. We do have two of our council members, Councilmember Tom Chavez and Councilmember Fernando Vizcarra here with us tonight. And also, as you can see, we're in a school building, and so this is also with a partnership with our local schools. And we have two school board members here. We have Ken Nolenberg and Bob Ridley in the back. And we also have some other city representation of one of our public arts commissioners is here tonight, Kathy Keelan. And so we do involve a lot of people, a lot of groups, and it's something that we do take pride in. And so tonight we have a few presentations. Our first presentation is going to be about community preservation, and presenting tonight will be Jillian Nunez.
Hi everybody. Can you guys hear me okay, or should I use the microphone? I'm good? Okay. Thank you all for coming. So we're going to dive right into this. So this is going to be short and sweet. I'm just simply about community preservation. Alright, so before we get started, let's just do a brief recap of what we covered over the last 2 years. So in 2012, we transitioned from code enforcement to community preservation. And the reason that we did that is we wanted a program that's more customer service driven, rather than just strictly code enforcement. We also implemented a phase, which stands for Focus Area Systematic Enforcement. And what that entails is courtesy notices that are simple door hangers that are put on residents' door to notify them of violations that they didn't know were on their property. Last year, 2013, we introduced CPTED. CPTED stands for Crime Prevention Through Environmental Design. And the three different methods that we discussed last year was natural surveillance. Natural surveillance, an example of this would be hedges that are trimmed below your window so you can look outside your window and see what's going on outside without having to take those special measures that putting yourself and your safety at risk. Territorial reinforcement, an example of this would be decorative fencing that creates property boundaries without creating hiding places. And the last one is maintenance. Maintenance is self-explanatory. And we discussed how these CPTED methods help deter criminal behavior. So, moving forward into this year, we're doing something a little bit different. It's called the broken windows theory. In 1982, there was an article that came out in the Atlantic Monthly called Broken Windows. Has any of you heard of this theory? A few of you have. So, what is it? It was written in 1982 by James Wilson and George Kelly. And basically, it's an idea that outlined the nature of how crime spreads in our communities. It was used successfully in the 1990s in New York City in a way to deter crime and to stop it. So to give you a brief idea of what this theory is, consider an abandoned building. Now this building is on Temple City. We don't have large buildings like this, but this is just an example to show you and give you an idea of what this theory is. This building just sits there. For years, this building's sitting there, deteriorating. You have peel and chipping paint, weeds growing. Pretty soon, someone comes by, a young kid, sees no one cares for this building, picks up a rock, breaks a window. This window remains broken, unrepaired. One window leads to two. Two windows leads to three. Pretty soon you have people breaking into this building. You have transients lighting fires inside to stay warm. Pretty soon people start doing drugs inside this building. So you have larger crime that ensues. So what this one building has done is created fear. And it's a snowball effect. So if you fix those small things, you deter the big things. And that's what community preservation does. We fix the small things. We fix the broken windows. We do all kinds of things, overgrown vegetation, abandoned vehicles, property maintenance, inadequate landscaping. And we even have a program for vacant properties that holds the owners responsible. What this does is prevents blight and it ensures proper maintenance of the property and protects the public from health and safety issues. So this is where Temple City residents such as yourself can help. The city is home to over 12,000 residential units. And that's not including commercial properties, what community preservation does handle. So residents notifying city staff, it helps us fix those small things before they become big things. So you fix the small things to deter big things. So city streets and city properties don't look like this, where you drive down the street and your walls are lined with graffiti. Or you have a property that sits abandoned and vacant for years, unmaintained and unsightly. Or you drive down an alley and you see abandoned vehicles that are inoperable, that are covered with graffiti. These pictures are from Temple City, and these are things that community preservation handles. Does anyone know where this is? Some people do. Does anyone know? There you go. The old Alpha Beta site right behind 99 Cent Store. Did anybody know there's a basement underneath? There's a basement that spreads out throughout that whole block. There is. A lot of people don't know this. And this is something, a case that I myself came across. And there's graffiti down there. I mean, there was cigarette buzz. Who knows what was down there? This is what we deal with.
What is the basement for?
Well, it was an old Alpha Beta site. It was like the supermarket.
Yeah, supermarket on that site before it burned down.
Yeah, so I mean, there's.
25 years.
It's been a while. It's been a while. So this is a perfect example of the broken windows theory in action. So you have one couch that someone has dumped in an alley that no one cares about. No one's picked it up. The city that this is in has done nothing. Weeks go by, and it gets to this. This was just this past Christmas, this photo. So you have one couch that turns into two couches. It's an open invitation for people to start dumping their debris and their trash because they see this, they see it as no one cares. And that's why it's so important for all of us to work together because preventing crime involves everyone. It involves city staff such as myself, such as the people that are here today. It involves the sheriff's department, but most importantly, it involves Temple City residents such as yourself because we want those higher properties. We want the quality of life. We want the desired area in which to live, safer communities. We have safe schools and safe streets. And again, going back to fix the small things and deter the big things. Because this site, it may be unsightly, but it's unsafe. So this is what community preservation does. We get areas and cases such as this, and we make it secure and safe. We have houses that have been in the city for years looking like this, that have fire damage in the rear yard, that's easily accessible to children, to transients, to anybody, that's left unsecure and abandoned. And now they look like this. Beautiful homes in your neighborhood that you're proud to be neighbors with. So please, this is a team effort. It takes all of us to work towards this one goal. So if there's any concerns or questions that you may have, we're all happy to answer anything that you throw our way. So by phone, email, in person, I think you have this information in your packet as well. We take questions, anything you have to give us. Thank you. Now it's Brian.
Good evening, folks, again. Thank you for coming out. This presentation tonight is going to be about emergency preparedness, and I think it's kind of appropriate that we're doing that. Who here felt the earthquake the other night, Wednesday morning? It wasn't too big. For me, it was big. I live in Fontana, so I was jolted out of bed in that morning. It felt like it was right under my house. Again, what's going on today in the foothills? We have fire. And so there are a lot of things that we can prepare for. They are going to happen, earthquakes, fires, and so what we want to do is do our best to be ready and be prepared to be able to act without thinking and just respond to what we need to do as a city, what the community needs to do as residents, and what we can do together. Everybody should have been handed a packet. If not, let me know, and our staff will get you these packets. There's a lot of stuff that's contained in this packet that is not in the presentation. I'll touch base briefly on the items in here, but this is for you to take home and go through and do a lot more preparation at home. There is homework that you guys have to do, and it's something that you do have to take the initiative and follow through on.
Thank you, sir.
So what is emergency preparedness? And this is a technical definition. Ensuring that an organization or person has complied with preventative measures to contain the effects of a disastrous situation. So in layman's terms, it's to be prepared for anything, whether it's a small disaster or a big disaster. We want to be prepared. How is the city prepared? The city is constantly drilling, preparing, and doing different items to prepare and make sure that we're able to take care of ourselves and respond to you as the community. A few of the items that we have that are notable is we recently remodeled our council chamber, and in that same building, we structured a new EOC, which is an emergency operations center. So that's kind of like our command post of the city, where if something's going on in the city, we can all converge there as city officials, as the fire department, sheriff's department, county government, and have everybody in one room to make the decisions on what's going on. Also, we have a backup generator. From the windstorm, we know that electricity can go out and can be out for a while. So the city needs to make sure that we are able to continue our operations to be able to serve the community. So we have a new backup generator. We have a state and federal approved emergency operations plan. And the emergency operations plan is simply the city's playbook. It's how the city's going to respond with our assets, with our resources, with our manpower to specific disasters, and it lets us know how to do that. We have a state-approved multi-hazard mitigation plan. We do have hazards that are identified in the city, whether it's in the northeast part of town as a flood inundation zone because of the Santa Fe Dam, or it's the entire city because of Southern California being an earthquake area, or fires or tsunamis. So even though they're not going to affect the city specifically and directly, we do have to have a plan. Who here can tell me if there's a tsunami over in Huntington Beach, Long Beach, how that might affect the city? Are we going to receive the waves coming up to the city, or how are we going to be affected? Yes, ma'am.
The emergency shelters in the local area will be flooded with those residents?
Correct. You'll have a lot of people that are evacuating the coastline and coming up. And so even though we're not directly affected by it, we do have to prepare and be able to receive and offer assistance to those communities that are fleeing the tsunami coming up. We also have a Red Cross approved emergency shelter at Live Oak Park. This is important because we do receive assistance from the Red Cross, and if we do need to activate a shelter, such as the case if we had the fire affected and we wanted to partner with the Red Cross because Pasadena, Arcadia, Monrovia was full of evacuees and they needed more space, we can partner up with those agencies and the Red Cross and offer our assistance as well. And also, we provide ongoing training for management and frontline staff. Just because you go to training once doesn't mean that it stops there. If you get trained once and you never use it, you forget it. So that term, if you don't use it, you lose it, rings true. We're constantly training and drilling, and that's what we want to get the mindset in the community as well. This is just kind of a funny video to break the ice on preparedness.
All right. I know this
Can you guys hear it?
Talk about, but we should.
No.
Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Okay, so yeah, winging it is not a plan, but who in here can tell me if they have the generator that you check it monthly, that you cycle out your gasoline, that if you have an emergency kit that has your flashlight and everything in there, that you know if your batteries work? A lot of people just put together something one time and think it's going to be available and ready when that disaster comes. It could have been put together 5 years ago, in which case that battery for those flashlights are dead, and that's not going to do you any good. One of the realistic disasters that's going to hit Temple City and Southern California is an earthquake. We're not going to have a disaster with a windstorm or a tornado. Or a tornado hitting we're not going to have a hurricane. So our realistic disaster is going to be an earthquake. We are an earthquake country, so we want to be prepared for that. So a lot of what I'm going to be talking about tonight is dealing with earthquake preparedness. 7 steps to earthquake safety. This is a quick list. It's a more detailed list in your packets that has what those 7 steps are. It goes into more detail on how to elaborate on each one of those. I'm going to go briefly over some of them tonight. Preparing for disaster. We want to make sure we develop We want to make sure we develop a disaster plan. Have disaster supply kits. Do your own hazard mitigation, and a hazard doesn't have to be a threat that's like it's fire or earthquake. It's hazards that are bookshelves that are in your bedroom, the unsecured TV that's on the wall. So doing some of that mitigation and also training. One of the things when you develop a disaster plan is there's certain items that need to be identified in that plan. One is it's great to have a plan, but if everybody's going to be evacuating the house and no one knows where to go, everybody's going to be everywhere else, and someone may go back in the house trying to find little Susie or little Billy to try and make sure that they're out of the house. So you want to have a meeting spot. Also, do you exercise your plan? It's great to have the plan, but if you don't exercise it and practice it, it's not going to be worth anything. It's just going to be a paperweight just sitting there because you're not going to know how to respond to what you plan to do. Who here has an out-of-state check-in contact? Not that many people. We have a few people. Councilmember Bloom does. You want to have an out-of-state contact so that if everybody here in California is affected by the disaster, out-of-state, their phone lines aren't down like ours would be in Southern California. So if you get that one phone call that everybody can get out, I can call my out-of-state contact, then my brother can call and say, hey, have you heard from Brian? Yeah, he's okay, don't worry about him. So have that one point of contact that everybody in the family knows to check into. Also, what route and alternate routes will you use to evacuate your neighborhood? If you're used to going down Temple City Boulevard to Lower Azusa to Baldwin to get on the freeway, right now is a prime example. You can't go south on Baldwin from Lower Azusa because the railroad tracks are being fixed by the overpass project. So you want to have routes identified and assume that those routes are going to be backed up, and identify alternate routes to those alternate routes. Have a game plan so that whatever happens, it goes. It's a little bit easier nowadays having GPS that you can kind of use that, but you want to practice it, maybe practice those routes on a weekend, driving those routes and making sure that you're accustomed to them and used to them. Do you have transportation? If your transportation is disabled because a tree fell on it, or it's opened up and fell into the ground in a sinkhole, do you have alternate means of transportation? And again, practice your plan and make sure you have an escape plan to get out of that house. Here's a sample escape plan. Doesn't have to be anything elaborate. You just want to identify the rooms in your house, where your potential smoke detectors are, and what points of exit you have, and identify a meeting spot. In this one, they went a little bit more and identified a primary route and an alternate route to get out of their house. And so making sure that you have backup plans available, because if that primary exit that you identified is blocked because the ceiling collapsed, you have another way to get out. Disaster supply kit. Remember the rules of 3. 3 kits, 3 days, and then 3 categories. 3 kits one for your home, one for your car, and one for work. And you want to make sure that you have enough supplies that are going to sustain each member in the family. If you have a family of 5, it's whatever the ratio is times 5. For instance, water. Water, who here can tell me how much water you need per person? 1 gallon a day per person. And so if you have a family of 5 and you're trying to sustain for 3 days, so 1 day you're going through 5 gallons for that one family. 3 days you're going to go through 15 gallons, and that's for cooking and for drinking. And so 15 gallons, that's 3 Arrowhead water bottles that you have there. It's not easy to lug around, and so you want to make sure, again, it's something that you can handle as well. Have 3 days of supplies per person, as we stated. That's also food items, that's medication, that's money, so to be able to sustain. And then the 3 categories are water, food, and utility items. Food and water, you want to have items that are non-perishable, that don't need to be cooked, or that require no maintenance or preparation, so that you can do it if you have minimal fire or heat. So you have canned goods that are good. You have what they call MREs, or meals ready to eat. They're not the best tasting, but if it's what you're left with, then it's going to do what it needs to do, and that's get you nutrition. And again, water, you want to have 1 gallon per person per day. Utility items, these are anything that you may need. It's going to be an individual preference on what you put in your kit. You can have tools, cash. If you have cash, we recommend small denominations. If you have nothing but $100 bills and they don't have change and you need that item, guess how much that water bottle costs? $100. So keep 20s, 5s, 10s, and some 1s, small denominations. Medications, documents, records, birth certificates, copies of passports, IDs. Keep all that together in a kit that you can easily grab and go. And again, a lot of this is explained in more detail in the packets that you have. Hazard mitigation. And again, the technical definition, mitigation is the reduction of loss of life and property by lessening the impact of disasters. And so what does that mean? It's any activity that presents an emergency or reduces the effect of a hazard. And so if we have cords all over the floor and it's easy as throwing a carpet or mat on top of those cords to prevent someone from tripping or deterring someone around, we just mitigated that hazard. At home, some of the examples are if you have heavy furniture, that big bookshelf that's top heavy because you have all the encyclopedias on the top shelf. You want to anchor that so it doesn't fall over in the earthquake. You have water heaters that need to be strapped. And that's actually a code requirement, so it's a legal requirement that water heaters must be strapped. Secure appliances and office equipment, refrigerators. You have other equipment that may be heavy and that may move in an earthquake, and if you happen to be next to it and the earth shakes, that may roll and pin you between the wall and that object. Who here knows how to turn off their gas, water, and electricity? Again, not too many hands. That's something that you want to know, how to turn off your utilities. Who knows where the utilities are? A little bit more, but half the room doesn't know where their utilities are located. So take the initiative and learn where your water shutoff is, where your electrical shutoff is, where your and how to shut it off. Again, it goes into more detail in the packet on what the procedures are. For instance, if you have an electrical panel, if you're shutting down, you want to shut down the individual breakers first and then turn off the main breaker. When you're restoring power, you want to do it in reverse order. Is you turn on the main power, then you turn on the sub breakers. And also, child-proof cabinets. Those child-proof locks for the cabinets are great for kids, but they're also great for an earthquake because if the dishes are moving in the cabinet and it swings open, it's going to catch that latch and keep the dishes from falling out. After the earthquake, just be cautious in how you open those cabinets because the dishes and everything else might be leaning on it, so do be careful on opening those. Training. Who here has heard of the Community Emergency Response Team training? And I know a few people in here have attended the training. This is a very good training, and we're actually offering it this weekend. We have the classes full, unfortunately. It trains residents in disaster preparedness, hazards, and basic response. So it teaches you as a civilian what you can do to take care of yourself and your family first, and understanding how to turn off your utilities, how to put out a small fire, how to search a building if it's determined by you to be safe, that you can search and look for victims, helping your neighbors do the same thing. It is 20 hours instruction, and it's provided by the city, the sheriff's department, and the fire department, all together or separately. We all provide the training. It is a federally recognized training, so it's a national curriculum by FEMA, and it's also a program that we are developing and growing beyond just the training. We do have a CERT team that we've developed, and it's taking graduates from that CERT team that want to volunteer and be part of a city volunteer team with some commitments and be able to get additional training, such as how to function in our emergency operations center. That if we have a disaster, we may be pulling some of those CERT volunteers into our EOC to help us with those operations. If we have a fire or windstorm that we need someone out there to do traffic control because we don't have enough staff, the sheriff's department, yes, they have thousands of employees, but if this is a Southern California incident, we're going to be stretched thin. So we do need assistance from the community. These are some of the photos from one of our recent CERT classes. You can see on the top left-hand corner, that's a fire pan exercise that's teaching how to put out a fire with the fire extinguisher. Who here has never used a fire extinguisher? And I know I don't want to learn when I need to use it. The best time to learn to use it is when it's not an emergency. The last thing you want to do is have a fire going on and you're sitting there reading the label of the fire extinguisher trying to figure out how to do it. The bottom right-hand corner is cribbing exercise. Cribbing is using wood blocks and using leverage to lift a heavy object so that we can extricate a victim that may be trapped under that object. Again, the fire pan is on the left side, and we also have our briefing and our gathering of the CERT members for an exercise that we did at the completion of graduation. Additional resources. I go to these websites to get the information. A lot of what you have in those packets are available on these websites in electronic format. For instance, if you go to the Earthquake Country info, that has the 7 steps, and there's a book in there called Putting Down Roots in Southern California, Earthquake Country. And so it goes into more detail on some of the items that are listed in there. And last, one of the things that we use to get out information that's pertaining to city events, disasters, upcoming road closures is through NICSO. We do have a couple of groups that are set up. The first one is the Temple City, or the TC Crime Watch. That's for Neighborhood Watch. So we're going to be putting out notices to anybody in that group on upcoming meetings or anything that's pertaining to Neighborhood Watch. And we also have another one that's called TC Emergency. So if you go to your phone and you text TC Crime Watch or TC Emergency to 888-777, it'll automatically sign you up. And then if you go to the full website, you can sign up for other cities as well. So if you live in Temple City, but you work in LA, you can sign up for LA City's NICSO and receive alerts from them as well. And so that concludes my presentation. I am available, as well as Jillian and any of our city staff are available after this presentation or after the meeting. If anybody else has any questions, we'll stay as long as we need to assist you with those questions and get those answers for you. Thank you. Peggy? And we also have a couple of our other staff members. We have our city clerk, Peggy Kuo, and our deputy city clerk, Marilyn Bones. Now then, bye.
Good evening. Thank you. My name is Peggy, and I'm the city clerk. And we have Marilyn Bones. She's a deputy city clerk. We're from the city clerk's office in City Hall. I'd like to announce that the city will be conducting its next general municipal election in March of 2015. You may wonder what the election may have to do with tonight's workshop. Well, in order for programs such as tonight's workshop to occur, it is with the support of the council. So we like to invite you to come to City Hall, visit our office, and learn more about the election. With us tonight, for your convenience, we have brought some registration application in Chinese, English, and Spanish. We encourage you to update your registration information, which may include your name, your address, and your signature. We also have prepared a voter survival guide with important deadlines for the March 2015 election. So again, we invite you to come visit us at City Hall, and we'd be happy to answer your questions or provide you with more information. Thank you.
All right, good. Okay, so just so everybody knows, we have Lieutenant Mark Stevens from our Cybercrime Identity Theft Unit. He wasn't actually initially part of our program, but he's got a lot of great information, and he's going to spend about 15 to 20 minutes going over that with you. So, Lieutenant Mark Stevens.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me back here okay? I don't like using microphones because I like to move around, and I've never been told to speak up, but I've been told to shut up a few times. So make sure I know how this thing works. Oh yes, it's got a laser and everything. Very good. I'm Lieutenant Mark Stevens. I work our Fraud and Cybercrime Bureau. I've been on the department for almost 32 years now. I've worked just about everywhere there is. Custody patrol detectives. And I got to tell you, this cybercrime thing it's the scariest thing I've ever seen. It's the fastest growing crime in the world. I was at a cyber conference not too long ago, and it was estimated there's 2.5 billion, that's B, billion with a B, mobile devices on the streets. That's a lot of them. Okay, and this is where the problem comes in. Technology's moving real fast. It's gotten way, way, way ahead of the security, and as a result of that, we've got some problems. Now, I'm going to stand up here, I'm going to say some things. Some of it might scare some of you. If there's kids in the room, you might not be real happy with me with what I have to say about cell phones, but we'll talk about that in a few minutes. I don't want to scare everybody. That's not the idea here. I do want to make you aware, all right? Here's the problem. The technology is advancing very fast. The security is behind it. Law enforcement is someplace out at the beach trying to catch up. All right? And the reason for that is simple. The technology is fast, so in order for us to investigate these crimes, we have to keep our people trained. We have to buy new equipment every 6 months. It's very expensive, and the funding just hasn't been there yet. It's probably going to take some federal legislation to get local law enforcement caught up so that we can deal with the credit card theft. How many people in here know someone whose credit card's been compromised? Okay? Pretty good amount of hands going up. Mine's been compromised 4 times in 18 months. Okay? And then one of them really sticks out in my mind. My wife came down, we had a cup of coffee at Starbucks right down the street from the Star Center. I swiped my card, 5 minutes later my cell phone rings. Hi, this is Visa Security. Do you have your credit card with you? Asking these questions. Yeah, well, somebody just used it to buy a TV set at Walmart in Ithaca, New York. Okay? Stop my card, please. You know, they blocked that transaction, but anyway, I had to go through the process. I've been through this process 4 times. So I'm going to give you some, what I want to do tonight is I want to give you some tools and rules so you can protect yourself, your family, your businesses, and so forth from cybercrime and identity theft. I'm going to show you some, I brought some pretty cool slides. I'm going to show you a few things. We're going to talk a little bit about phishing. Everybody's heard about that. That's really one of the hacker's best friends. And I want to get into a little bit of identity theft, a little bit of cybercrime, and a little bit of cell phone safety. Okay, so those are the things that we're going to talk about. The types of crimes that we're dealing with is obviously the hacking, the illegal intrusions into the computers, identity theft, corporate espionage, intellectual property theft, and a lot of people think of that as Hollywood and the music industry. What about McDonnell Douglas after 2 or 3 years of spending a lot of money in research and development on some kind of an aircraft or something along those lines, and somebody gets in and steals that? That can cost that corporation literally billions of dollars. Okay, so it's a big deal. Medical identity theft, and this is something that everybody needs to take to heart. You've got to protect your medical insurance card the same way as you protect your social security number. And here's the reason why, all right? Somebody uses your name to get a surgical procedure done. Your electronic chart now, right? Everything's electronic. We're hearing about that from all of the Kaiser's advertised it, HealthNet, they've all advertised it. All of our medical records have been digitized, which is really good because it allows the doctor very quick information about you. If you're a Kaiser patient and something happens where they roll you to the local hospital that's not a Kaiser affiliate, they can pick up the phone and your entire medical file can be transferred to that hospital in seconds. It's fantastic. The other thing is, the hospitals do a very good job of protecting our information. The insurance companies do a very good job of protecting our information. They have to because of a law called HIPAA. And I don't want to go into HIPAA, but basically what that is you will protect people's medical records or else. And it's like $5,000 a file or $10,000 a file. So imagine a hospital with 25,000 patient files having their information breached and having to pay 25,000 times 5,000 or whatever that is. I don't know what it adds up to, but it's a lot. You math majors in here? Come up with these numbers quick. Okay, but they do a very good job of protecting it. The weak link is us. We lose our card, somebody finds it. Well, imagine somebody uses your card. Right now, they got to get a procedure done. They're going to tell the doctor all of their allergies, right? So that gets added to your medical chart, but you're not allergic to those things, and then something happens to you, you wind up in the hospital. Doctor needs to give you medication. When they type it into the system, it flags, sorry, drug interaction problem. Can't do it. And it slows down the process of getting the medical treatment that you need. So, I talked about tools and rules. Here's a rule. When you go in for your annual physical checkup, ask your doctor to see every appointment that you've had that year. And if you see an appointment at a facility that's not you, there's something wrong with your medical chart. A, there's an appointment that you didn't attend, and B, somebody probably used your insurance information to get a procedure done, and on that date, there's going to be changes to your medical chart that need to be reversed. Okay? Doesn't happen a lot, but we are starting to see an increase, and it's a concern. Cyber ransom, crypto locker malware. This is kind of new. What's happening is the hackers are getting into the computers, however they do it. Sometimes it's phishing, sometimes it's a hack. But what happens is they go in and they find the critical files of a business, client list, inventory control, the books, the last year's sales. They drag all that stuff into a file and they encrypt it. Your computer still works. You can log into your computer. You can still use your word processor. The problem is you can't get into your files because it's been encrypted. And about an hour after you open your business, you get a phone call that says, hey, wire us X number of dollars to our offshore account that doesn't have a treaty with the United States, and we'll unlock your computer. Well, 64-bit encryption, federal government says that their best computer will take 24 years to crack it. Can you be out of business for 24 years? The answer is no. Okay, this is a big deal. Tools and rules. Make sure that if you own a business, if you have critical files, that it's backed up off facility or on a device that's not connected to your network on a daily basis. Do a dump. And that way, if something like that happens, you can say, hey pal, pound sand. You can reformat your drive, reload everything, push out a new copy of it, plug in your flash drive, dump all your files back in, and you're up and operational in hours instead of days, sometimes weeks, okay? But that's the way to deal with that. Child safety, or child and adult exploitation. I'm going to talk a little bit about children and the internet here in a few minutes. Identity theft basics. Now, everybody in here, almost everybody in here probably knows somebody's had their credit card compromised, but identity theft is a real big deal. And you got to protect yourself. Shred everything. See, I just can't do it. You got to shred everything. I get a penny saver in the mail. It says resident and my address. I tear that page off and shred it and throw the rest of it in the recycle bin. I don't even want my address in these people's hands because my address is part of my profile, and if they find out what my name is, now they've got my name and my address. Now they've got two parts of my profile. See where I'm going with this? So shred absolutely everything. Protect all of your personal information, not just your social security number, but you need to protect your phone number and as much as your address as you possibly can. Obviously your social security number, your medical card, that kind of thing. But you need to protect all of your personal information. Protect all of your mail. Now, I get this question asked. Well, if I use online banking and I pay my bills online, isn't it more dangerous? Well, the answer to that is statistically, we don't think so. It wasn't a couple of years ago. I don't know if there's new statistics out with the surge that we've had. But statistically, no, because mail theft is a big problem. And mail can be intercepted at several points. Your mailbox, the post office, the delivery point, the people at work, wherever it is that these things are coming through the processing centers. So There's weaknesses in everything. No system's 100% secure, okay, but it's probably close, but statistically we understand that it's actually safer to bank online and pay your bills online than it is to use the mail. Protect all your passwords. Don't tell somebody your password, whether it's at work or if it's a bank account or your email. You don't say, hey, log into my email and check this. If you're going to do that, you're leaving yourself open, and you also need to make sure that if the time comes where you have to do that, make sure that you log in as soon as you can and change your password, change it to something different. And you need to change your password frequently, every 3 to 6 months. A different password for every account, and report all incidents of suspected identity theft to law enforcement. Call the station, have a car come out, get a file number, not a tag number or call number, get a file number, okay? And when they get that, they'll send a copy of it down to our unit at Fraud and Cybercrime Bureau. Our people will look at it, and we're beginning to gather the statistics on what exactly is happening with cybercrime and identity theft. Talk a little bit about card skimmers. There's a few things you need to understand about credit cards, okay? Any card that has a mag strip, your driver's license, a card key to your apartment complex, a card key for a hotel, any kind of card that's got a blank on it can be made into your credit card. Okay? Card skimmers are simply a device that reads the card. You see them that you can clip on top of the computers now to swipe if you're doing trade shows, that kind of stuff. They now have one called the Cube. You can plug it into your cell phone and you can swipe it on your cell phone if you do online banking, those types of things. Keep in mind, if you're using these things correctly, you have your phone set up, your computer set up, they're actually very safe to use. Where we get into trouble, our cyber fence is only as strong as the weakest link, and guess who the weakest link is? You know, you ever get that little thing that flashes up in the lower right-hand corner of your screen, says your malware software needs to be updated? Oh, remind me later. Remind me later. No. Because those updates go out every time they get some new bug. And that's why sometimes you see it every day, sometimes you see it once a week. You need to scan your system on a regular basis as well. But there's different kinds of readers that will read these cards. There's gas pump skimmers. I got some pictures of these things. You've got your point of sale terminals. Those things where you swipe Verifone, you swipe the card and you enter it in. We actually have videotape of a guy who walks into a store, unplugs the power, unplugs the Cat 5, snaps it out, pulls another one out of his pocket and snaps it in. And it worked. It actually could communicate because there was not, now, that's the hand to scareth. Here's the hand to make you feel better about it, okay? They're already putting coding now into these things so that the computer won't accept the new one. Okay, but every time they come up with new technology, the crooks find a way around it. It's a constant game. It's a chess game, goes back and forth. There are also handheld skimmers, okay? And I've got ATM card versus credit card. Never hand your ATM card or your Visa debit card to anyone. Okay, and you're going to see the device that I'm talking about. I'll explain that to you. This is a card skimmer that goes in a gas pump. This is an extremely blown up picture of a 1/2 by 1 inch circuit board on some cables. It's tiny, okay? They open up the gas pump. They plug the one end here, they plug the other end into the ribbon cable. So they just unplug this from there and then insert that in between. Bluetooth operable, they don't even have to open the pump to get to the credit card numbers. Every credit card, and remember this is inside the pump. Nobody's going to see this until someone goes in to service that pump. And then they might miss it because it's so small. Those cards aren't always right out in front, okay? So gas stations can be at risk. When you buy gas, use the gas pump that's closest to the booth where the service attendant is. You're much less likely to get hit there than you would on the outside. These are the skimming devices that are placed, and you can see right. Whoops. You can see right here. I'm getting ahead of myself. Am I pushing the wrong one right here? Yeah, here we go. You can see right here. This is just a plastic cap that goes over the regular cap that's on the ATM machine. All right, they stick it on there with double stick tape. Okay, now, I talked about your ATM card. Never give that to anybody. Okay, you should also not use it unless you absolutely have to in a machine because of the skimmers. And here's why I say that. And this is what I have in my wallet right now. I have my Visa debit card. I have my regular Visa card. That's the big purchases, you know, like the tire gets blown on the car and I got to spend a couple $100 or whatever. And then I've got my throwaway card. it's from a bank that's not my bank, and it doesn't matter. If you bank at Wells, go to Capital One or Wells Fargo or whatever. It doesn't really matter. You just want it to be completely separate from your other banking. That's the one you give to the waitress. That's the one that you give to fast food. That's the one that you use at the gas station. Should have a $500 to $700 maximum balance on it. That way the crook doesn't get much. Credit card company gets killed, they send you out a new one, and it really just doesn't matter. Okay, but here's the big one. If you use a Visa MasterCard and it gets hacked and somebody starts to use it, the law says that Visa and MasterCard have to put that credit back onto your account during the investigation. If it's your ATM card and the PIN number was used, it's your money. So if I'm a hacker and I clean out your account, you're out that money for the 6 to 8 weeks it takes the bank and law enforcement to conduct the investigation and find out whether or not you did it. So, Visa's money, my money, pretty easy choice for me. And this is a handheld skimmer. You can see how small it is. It can be very simply modified with a play record button, and this is the way the scenario would go at fast food. Here's your order, sir. That'll be $9.72. Thank you for the card. I reach into my smock as I'm turning around, press record, swipe, drop it back into my smock, swipe the card. You'd never think anything about it. But now I've got your credit card. Give you your food, you leave the store, I lean over to my buddy, he comes up with a blank card key, an old credit card, an old driver's license, anything that's got a mag strip, hands that to me with $150. I go play, swipe, here's his credit card, go. And they're out spending your money. You haven't even got home with the food yet, and they're swiping it for gasoline, fast food, and anywhere that they won't ask for identification. If a friend happens to work at a department store, that could be a pretty big transaction, okay? It happens that fast. And that's why we say, don't use your ATM, never hand your ATM card to anybody, because it can happen that fast. Now, we'll talk a little bit about cybersecurity. And I'm going to start off with phones, and I'm going to end with phones. How many people have a smartphone in here? Okay, now, without raising your hand, I want you to think about this. How many of you have antivirus software on your phone? A couple of hands go up, and everybody else is kind of thinking, well, do I? All right, here's the deal. Your cell phone is not a cell phone anymore. If you have a smartphone, you are holding a computer. You're holding a computer that has more computing power than the entire room of computers that was used to land Neil Armstrong on the moon. Okay? To give you an example, Apollo 11 mission, the lunar lander that set down on the moon, had a 64K system. Does anybody remember the Commodore 64? All right? What's our typical cell phone got now? What, a gig and a half? And then you got, what, up to 64 gigs of memory in the phone or something like that? A smartphone is what used to be considered a supercomputer, and it's in the palm of your hand. Now, this is what the kids won't want to hear. Parents, ask yourself this question. Would you allow your child to have a computer in their bedroom unsupervised? Then, if you don't have parental controls on your smartphone, why would you hand that to a child that they can carry with them 24/7? It's a computer. It has voice capability, but it's a computer. And as such, it needs all of the same protections as a notebook computer or a standalone computer, a network computer. It needs antivirus software, it needs its software packages updated on a regular basis, and it needs to be treated with the same parental controls that you would put on a computer that's in the room. Same thing. Sorry, kids. It's a serious issue, and when I get into the metadata and so forth, you'll see why I say it's such a big deal. Antivirus software updates, your regular software updates, you'll see that Adobe hasn't been updated. Hackers have found a hole in Adobe to get into the system. Adobe sees it on one of these bulletin boards, they get notified, they send out a patch, that's the update. It patches your computer so that the hackers can't exploit it anymore. Your passwords need to be long, they need to be complex. You can use a passphrase like my dog Spot, that's fine, but you need to make sure it has capital letters, lowercase letters, special symbols, and numbers. So my dog Spot might look like lowercase m, capital Y, D-O-G, $sign for the S. See where I'm going with this? Make it as complex as possible. That makes it more difficult. The other thing is it can't be run against the electronic dictionary, and that's what hackers do. They program the computer to run the password check against the dictionary, and they walk away from it for 4 or 5 days until it gets in. So you don't want to have regular words out of the dictionary in your password. Loose media is just that, loose. Okay? Flash drive, CD-ROM, SD card from a camera, whatever it is. If you don't know where it came from, don't plug it into your computer or your cell phone. Okay? The biggest hack known so far, allegedly, was this is how it went down. Handful of flash drives loaded with a bot, boom, throw them over the fence into the employee parking lot of the facility. Employees find them, oh God, I wonder who dropped their flash drive. Clink, upload the bot to the computer now dials out to me, the hacker, and I can start talking to that computer. Forget about that $1 million worth of front-end security. The computer's calling me, and guess what? Every time that computer boots up, it's going to call me. That's what a bot does. So they get in, they load a password sniffer onto that computer. In this particular situation, we believe 5 employees plugged in, loaded onto 5 computers, send something to foul up a computer, the administrator comes over, types in the administrative password, and now they're in the Superdome. Shut the facility down, boom. And that's how they got in. Pretty simple, okay? And so don't ever plug something you don't know where it came from into your computer. Phone Wi-Fi, I'm not going to get too far into that, but respect the fact that it's a computer, and that if your phone doesn't have the settings turned on so that it will only auto-lock into the Wi-Fis that you tell it to, it could hook up to my hacker Wi-Fi that's in my car parked outside of Starbucks or Denny's or wherever it is I happen to be. And when you walk by to save on your data plan, it logs into my thing and now I'm in your phone. If I have penetration software, I'm going to leave something on your phone so that your phone will call out to me, and now I can start capturing the data. And you see where I'm going with this. So if you don't know how to set your phone up, it's real simple. Turn your Wi-Fi off when you leave the house. Real simple. That way it won't log into anything while you're stopped at the red light for 2 minutes in front of the, wherever it happens to be. Your home network needs to be secure. Remember I said your fence is only as secure as the weakest link. Your home network, is it as secure as your work network? And in most cases, that's not the case. This is the way it usually goes down. People buy a router, they got their modem, they plug everything in, they work with it, they play with it. Hey, it's working! And they think they've done it. But they haven't gone in and changed all the default settings in that router. Now, if I'm driving down the street and I'm a hacker, and I see a network and it's called Netgear or Linksys or Verizon, I know that there's a good chance the default settings haven't been changed. And if you have a Linksys router, and I'm a hacker, I know that the administrative password to your router, by default, is admin1. And if you haven't changed it, I own your router. And if I own your router, I own all your computers. So you want to make sure that you go through the directions and do these things. First thing you do is change the administrative password. The next thing you do is you change your SSID. That's the service set identifier that says Linksys or Netgear. Change that to, Rover or whatever you want to change it to, so that it's not unique. I don't know what kind of router it is now, right? So now you just made my job more difficult, all right? Because keep in mind, if I'm a hacker, it's my full-time job. All I need is motivation, time, and aptitude. That's all I need. I need to know how to do it, I need to have the time to do it, and I got to be motivated to do it. Those 3 things come together and I own it. It's that simple. So you want to change those things. Change all the default settings and make sure that your password is encrypted. If you have a web key password and you can't change it, get a new router. Okay, because I can be in a web system in 5 minutes. There's software, I can plug it into my computer, drive down the street, pick up your network, and if you're in a web, I'm in your system in 5 minutes. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that credit card that I bought from my friend at the fast food store, right, for 150 bucks. I'm going to take that credit card information and I'm going to park in front of your house and I'm going to go to a major chain and I'm going to buy a couple $1,000s worth of stuff online and I'm going to have it delivered to the foreclosure that's down the street from your house. And then I'm going to track the package, and I know it's going to be delivered between 2 and 4 o'clock on Tuesday. I'm going to show up at Tuesday at about 5 minutes to 2, and I'm going to watch. UPS comes, drops it off. He takes off. I drive up the street, go take it off the porch, throw it in my car, and I'm in the wind. Your IP address was used to make that transaction with the illegal credit card, not mine. That's the way it goes down. Now, we know this. We're not going to come kick your door. We have to do other verifications. But you see, it puts us in a position where it's difficult to do the investigation. So you want to make sure that your password's encrypted. And all you have to do, open up the router box. There's instructions. Just follow the instructions. But follow all of the instructions. Just because it's working doesn't mean that it's secure and working correctly. Phishing, we're hearing a lot about this. Phishing is nothing but an email that asks you to click on a link so that your computer will talk to my computer. That's all it is. Okay, and they look very real. Spear phishing is targeted to an organization, harpooning is going after the executives of that organization. So if you hear those terms, that's what they mean. This is a phishing email. It looks very realistic. Just because it's B of A, don't think that B of A's got a problem. It's not B of A, all right? Every major bank, and most of the small banks now, are being used for these things. If you get an email from your bank saying, hey, there's a problem, click here to find out what it is, don't click through. That's the rule. Don't click through your email. Post Office, UPS, FedEx, B of A, all of them. It doesn't matter. Banks, Wells Fargo. But here's a clue, and this is how you would know, right? This is the login screen, right? Why does it say click here for sign in if the sign in screen's already up? That's clue. That in law enforcement we call a clue. All right. Here's one from American Express. For those in the back, I'll read it real quick. And notice a few things here. Your spend activity, not spending activity, your spend activity, and activity is capitalized, which doesn't make any sense either. Dear customer, your spending activity since your last statement close date has reached the notification amount you set for your account. A lot of business people set their American Express at $5,000. So it says your notification amount was $5,000. Your spending activity, your total spending activity is $7,002.68. That looks realistic. Here's the zinger right here. Whoops. I'm not liking this clicker. Okay, here's the big deal right here. Most recent charge approved, $2,520. Oh, wait a minute, I didn't spend $2,500. View recent activity. If I click there, talking to the hacker. Okay, and this is a picture of an actual email from one of our employees. I had to scrub the 2 line. View recent activity, view account summary, update alert settings, click here, right? If for any reason you want to stop receiving these alerts, click here. Every single one of those went to the same address. They should be going to different addresses. So that's your second clue. And this one I really like. You're going to love this. This appears to have come from a friend. I hope this email finds you well, space, comma, capital K for kindly, I don't know. Kindly log in to view the document I, lowercase, uploaded for you using Google Doc. Click here to download the document. But when you click here, again, it doesn't take you to Google Doc. Where it takes you is to this screen. Welcome to the admin server portal. Please give me your email, password, and login name. Right? Here's the clue right here. Whoops. Man, this thing's touchy. http://shamtower.com. It's a sham. This is what comes to you. People were filling this out. They send it back. There's a problem here if you use the same login name and password for all your accounts, right? If I'm the hacker, I log into your email, change the password, change all of your challenge questions. Now you can't get into your email. I go through your email, find out that you have a Visa card and a MasterCard from from B of A. You've got a Capital One account. You've got a Best Buy account. You've got a Sears account. You've got a JCPenney account. Oh, look. It's not logged on. What can I buy and send to the foreclosure down the street? Empty out all your accounts over the weekend while you can't get through to customer service because nobody's got customer service on the weekends anymore, it seems. And by Monday morning, I've cleaned out all your bank accounts, and it's too late. I've also changed your password on all those accounts too, so you can't get back into them. It'll take you weeks to get through this. The rule is, if you get an email, don't click through. Close it. Open up a new window, go to American Express, B of A, UPS, whatever it is, and track your package that way or do your online banking that way. Don't click through. That's the rule. Mobile phone safety. This is a biggie. I mentioned it. Your cell phone's a computer. A smartphone's a computer. It needs an antivirus. Online surfing, for kids, it can be dangerous. Just like, that's what the phone allows them to do. So if you're giving your child a smartphone, you're allowing them to surf online. But the smartphone apps is where the real problem is. Kids love these new apps. I saw one not too long ago. You bring up any picture, touch where you want the bomb to go off, and it shoots this little animated rocket and blows up the car, it blows up, you know. It's a free app. Where it came from, I have no idea, but I know this. It didn't come from the Apple Store, and it didn't come from Google Play. All right? So it came from some open source. Now that doesn't mean that that particular app is designed to be a hacker's dream. However, if you're getting the app from the Apple Store or from Google Play, it's gone through R&D. Research and development has at least looked at it and said, yeah, okay, this is a safe app, we can put it up. Several years ago, there was a version of flashlight. Everybody's got flashlight on their phone, right? So that you can use your cell phone as a flashlight. There was a particular version, and we think that we have extincted it, all right, that had an exploit that would allow a hacker, if they had a computer and your phone number, to turn on your audio and your video and listen and watch everything real time. That was kind of scary. It didn't take long before the antivirus softwares killed it off and everything else. It was 4 or 5 years ago. But you don't want apps coming from someplace that's not reputable. You want to make sure that it's coming from someplace that's got an R&D that's going to screen it so that the hacker's not getting into your smartphone. Because keep in mind, if I can get into your phone and your phone logs onto your business, I'm in your business. If it logs onto your home network, I can get into your home. That's why they call them viruses. It works the same way as the flu. It's a virus. Okay? It works exactly the same. Social media and metadata, this is big. All right? Social media is out there. There's lots of it. Now, just driving here from Whittier, I heard 3 stories on cyber incidents where hackers, there was one about the European hackers and how they become very sophisticated and how much more difficult it is, yada, yada, yada. Okay? There was another one about, okay kids, cover your ears, about some students down in Newport Beach that used a keylogger to get the teacher's password so they could get into the computers and change their grades. Here's what you need to listen to, kids. They went to jail. Okay, so I just want to get that disclaimer out. They went to jail, and they're looking for the 28-year-old tutor who gave it to them. So they're out looking for that. But here's the deal. Facebook and a lot of the these social media sites are very responsible. They understand what I'm about to tell you. Facebook and many of the others have put a scrubber, we call it a scrubber, that scrubs the metadata to a file off the picture. Okay, but what metadata is, it's the information about a file. Every computer file's got it, okay? And it tells you what computer it was on, the date that the file was created. I know some of you have done this before. The date that the last time the file was modified, the last time the file was viewed, all that stuff in Windows, okay? With photographs, cameras were required by law as a result because they wanted to be able to track down child predators to put the GPS coordinates into the metadata. Well, that works for us because we can go after them, but it also works against us because now the crooks these predators have something that they can use to find out where our kids are. Okay, now kids, you need to listen, all right? If you're emailing or texting your picture out, you can never get it back. Once it's in cyberspace, it never goes away. Is it Snapchat, the one where you send the picture and 5 seconds later it disappears? Yes. It's not gone. Okay? It's not on your friend's phone anymore unless they really quickly went click, click and got a screenshot of it, right? But also, it was on the phone, it just auto-deleted. Computer code is nothing but ones and zeros, right? Cyber 101. The first digit, if it's a 1, it's an active file. The computer operating system won't overwrite it. By deleting the file, all you do is change the first digit to a 0. But the file's still on the hard drive. And we can find it. And so can a lot of other people, okay? So if you're sending risque pictures, well, we've seen that, right? Celebrities, a couple of congressmen. But this is what it looks like. This is a screenshot of a photograph that was loaded into what's called PhotoLinker. You open the picture here, it tells you where it is there. So here's the deal. Susie's 12, she's having a slumber party. Somebody's got a smartphone, they're taking all kinds of pictures. Hey, we're at Susie's house having a slumber party. If I'm a child predator, I've spent a lot of time working my way into people's Facebook accounts, every social media that I can work my way into. I'm not me. That was the third thing that I heard coming in about some 18 or 19-year-old guy posing as a girl, little kids. It was bad, okay? But this is what they do. Well, if that photograph's out there, okay, I now know what bedroom window to crawl into. And that's scary. We've got to watch our kids. We've got to take care of our kids, okay? And I'm not saying this because this is something that can happen. I'm saying this because our Special Victims Unit says it is happening. Okay? All across the country, all around the world, this is something that's happening. Okay, and as those photographs are being put out there and that information about soccer practice is being put out there, it's not very difficult to build a profile on an individual. I can find out, if I spend time, I can find out where you work. I can find out where you shop. I can find out where you go to school. I can find out where your kids play soccer. I can find out all of it, okay? All of this convenience comes at a price. I'm not trying to scare everybody. What I'm saying is respect that fact. Take the time to learn how to do it right so that you can protect yourself and your family, okay? That's my pitch. Anybody have any questions? Yes.
Where do you suggest we keep our multitude of passwords?
Okay, I get that question a lot. There are apps for your cell phone that's called a password locker, where you can lock all your passwords into one so that you use one password to get in. I personally don't like that because your passwords are in there, okay? This is what I do. I keep all my passwords on a spreadsheet, but I'm the only one that can read my password. Because nobody knows what my first dog's name was, or my first parakeet's name was, or what street my best friend in 3rd grade lived on. So you find 10 or 15 things, okay, that only you are going to know. That's your own form of shorthand. And if your first dog's name was Spot, when you see dog, you know it's Spot. And when you see dog with a capital G, you know that the T gets capitalized instead of the S. You figure out how you want to do it. The first letter can mean the third. It doesn't matter. Only you know it. And you've got 10 or 15 of these. You put them in different order and throw a symbol and a number in there, that kind of thing. And you'd be surprised how easy it is to keep track. I've got 43 online accounts. Okay? And I keep track of all my passwords. And I promise you, if I handed you my spreadsheet, you'd go, what? Because it wouldn't mean anything to you. It would make absolutely no sense to you. That's my suggestion on passwords. Any other questions? Yes.
I was fortunate enough to listen to your presentation at the council meeting, but you talked about putting the flash drive into the computer. You mentioned that night also, if you find a CD laying on the ground, don't stick it in
any
there.
loose media, CD-ROM, DVD, flash drive, SD card, whatever. If you don't know this, don't put it in your computer. And if it's one of those things where you find it and you think, I just absolutely have to know, get it to our office. We got a sandbox that we play in all the time. Plug things in, it crashes our computer, we just wipe it, push out a new baseline and start over again. We can do that. But you know, there's a process involved in doing that, okay? I want everybody to know I'm available to come out and speak to Lions Clubs, Rotary Clubs, PTA meetings, scouting leadership meetings, or parent meetings, whatever forum. Our department is really moving as hard and fast as possible on these issues. And the first thing is awareness. Awareness leads to a reduction in the incidents. And that's really the best way to fight it, is to prevent it from happening in the first place. Hopefully we'll see some money come down the pipe. When you see those laws coming up, those bills coming up, you hear about it on the news, take the time to pick up your phone, call your congressman and say, hey, you need to vote for this. Because, the federal government, they do a great job of getting, they took down the Silk Road, which was a narcotics Craigslist, basically, is what it was. Very difficult to get to because it was run in an area of the internet we call the deep web that you and I don't go on. It's a covert area of the web, and they took it down. They do a pretty good job of protecting, our infrastructure, that sort of thing. But they're not going to come out and take care of the $10,000 that was stolen from my 80-year-old mother. That's local law enforcement's job. Unfortunately, we haven't received the funding that's necessary for us to be able to do our job the way we need to. We do have a good crew of detectives. They do a great job of these investigations. They know how to preserve the evidence so that it'll hold up in court. They make perfect snowballs out of those cases. The problem is the ice from those snowballs coming off Mount Everest. We're just scraping the surface, folks. And so when you see that legislation, please pick up the phone. I can be reached at cyber, C-Y-B-E-R, @LASD.org. You can send me an email. We have an e-newsletter. If you send me an email from your email account with your name, I will put you on the list. Deputy Adams is going to, I got that right? Yeah, okay. I do like 2 or 3 of these a day. Sometimes it gets this late, I start getting punchy. I'm going to forward it to him. He's got your email list, so you should get it anyway, at least this first time around. If you decide you want it, just forward your email to me. I'll make sure that you get on the list. I can also be reached by just contacting the local station. Somebody there can track me down. If you're having trouble at the desk, just go to operations. They've got my number. Thank you very much for your time. I greatly appreciate it. You can definitely have that.
All right. How about one more round for Lieutenant Stevens? Huh?
Thank you.
All right. I know he said not to be afraid, but I'm scared. I'm not using my cell phone. I'm taking my kids' cell phones away, and I'm locking in the closet. Come on.
Not necessary.
Not necessary. You're right. No, you're right. And I'll tell you, I'm guilty of not monitoring my kids because I figure it's a cell phone. I don't know how to work the darn thing. You know, I can text and call, and that's about it. So I think I need to change the way I'm doing some things, right? Okay, so I'm not going to be as graceful as he was with this remote. I'm not even sure how to use it. Where's Brian? He's supposed to be up here with me. So let's see if we can do it. Okay, so this is year 3. Oh, here he is. Okay. I told him to stay close by. Okay, so this is year 3 for us. Usually it's myself up here, my 2 partners, Rob and Kirk, and my sergeant, Ron Miranda, and the captain usually comes by as well. However, they're in Dewarty helping with the fires tonight. So I know they have a command post there. They're worried about the fires coming down in Dewarty. If they needed to roll out to Glendora, they're going to do that as well. So there's our contact information, just so you have it. It's on the handouts right here, okay? And just real quick, I want to go through the handouts. You don't have to follow along if you don't want to, and we're not going to spend a lot of time on them. But my contact information's on the front page, all right? I wanted to point out, too, that we have new neighborhood watch signs. And the way we came up with these signs is because we wanted to do something new with the program when we revamped it 2 years ago, all right? And we have area leaders, and Lucy's around here somewhere. There's Lucy. And I've got another. We got about, how many area leaders do we have, Lucy?
We have about 20.
About 20. So we have 20 people that actually meet once a month for 1 hour, and we talk about the program, we make changes, and we execute those changes so that it's always changing to meet the needs of the community. One of the things they helped with was actually the design of this sign. So just wanted to share that with you. If any of you want to get more involved, please, get a hold of me. Just shoot me an email. Let me know you're interested in being an area leader. It's 1 hour a month, January through October. Okay, just so you know. All right, you have my contact information. You also have my partners and my sergeant. But get a hold of me, because I'll definitely get a hold of you. And the email is the best way to reach me, just so you know. The next 3 pages in the handout, where it talks about reporting suspicious persons or activity, those are all things that we've covered in year 1 or 2, or that we're going to cover tonight. All right, and we're still going to add to that as we go, just so you know. We got a map of the new areas. So we have 10 areas now instead of 12. And we have meetings January through October. The holidays, we take them off, right? Shopping, right? Protecting you folks when you're out there shopping and making sure your cars don't get broken into. The next page is the crime. It's actually a map of your area, and it lists the different crimes that are in the key that occurred in the last 6 months, just to kind of give you a rough idea. We're working on a way to actually give you information that will kind of let you compare year to year, but we haven't figured out the best way to do that yet. And things happen and change within your community, so we don't want the false idea in your heads about the fact that maybe crime's getting better and there's not as much crime, but really there's something else that happened that led to that, or that there's more crime from one year to another, and yet we don't want you to think we're not doing our jobs. We're getting hit with burglaries left and right, which we're going to talk about, residential burglaries, vehicle burglaries, any opportunity right now. And the problem we're dealing with is all these people that we're arresting, we just did a probation compliance operation, okay? We go to the house, we detain everybody inside, the guy's on probation, and I'm sorry, I lost it. I'll come back to it. Oh, you want to do that? Okay. I'm sorry. I was supposed to start off with Brian. We have evaluations. Okay. So we're going to pass these out. And when we finish tonight, we'd like you to fill those out before you leave. We're going to have a raffle, and we're going to raffle off some certificates, just so you know. So Brian's going to hand those out. Okay. Oh, I know what I was going to tell you. I got it. Sorry, I've been here since 4:30 in the morning. This guy's on probation for selling cocaine, right? He had a large amount of cocaine. He gets sentenced to 6 months in jail. He does 18 days. So we violated his probation because he was smoking marijuana in the house with his girlfriend's 14-year-old daughter around, right? And he didn't register when he moved to Temple City back in March of last year as a narcotic offender. So we violated him. How much time do you think this guy's going to actually do? He's going to be out probably in a day or two. He's probably out now on a probation violation. We don't have the budget. The state budget's horrible. The justice system isn't working for us like it should. These people, we lock them, we try to lock them up, we give them the time, and they're doing, literally 5 days, 10 days on a 6-month sentence. So, but that's why we're here tonight. I'm not going to scare you as much as Lieutenant Stevens did, because we actually have a great community and there's a lot we can do. And by you folks being here tonight makes all the difference in the world. Okay, and that's how we work together to keep these things from happening and to keep our city safe, which we've been very good at doing so far. The other pages in here, we have a crime blotter. That's the information. What I need for you to do for me is, if you didn't sign up on those sheets that are going around, please write clearly. And if you didn't put an email address down and you have one, please put that down, because every week we're going to send you the information, all the crimes that are occurring within the city, so you have that information. And then I think lastly, there's just a page here. If you've got a question or a concern that you don't get to bring up because we don't have time tonight, maybe you've got a problem with a neighbor because we handle quality of life issues, bring those up we can write it down here, or actually email if you'd like as well, and I will get back to you. That way, we have time to deal with it later. So not to worry. Okay. So these are our discussion topics tonight. Burglaries, theft, personal safety, and then the protocol for calling the station. Now, just so you know, the way we came up with these 4 topics tonight is because the area leaders, those 20 people we have working with us, decided that's what they figured the community would want to hear about. All right? We had other topics last year and the year before as well, so just so you know. Okay, so let's talk about residential and vehicle burglaries. All right? The trends. Residential burglaries is the biggest problem that we're having in our city. We don't have assaults very often. We don't have robberies. We don't have violent crimes, we don't have murders, but we're getting hit with residential burglaries. All right? And because of those reasons I just gave you, we have these crooks getting back out. What do you think the incentive is for this guy who just broke into somebody's house? He gets a year in jail and he does maybe a month. I mean, what does that tell him? I mean, it's worth it. I'll go into jail for a month, I'll be back out on the streets, and then I'll start hitting houses again. That's the unfortunate reality. So that's why it's important for us to be here tonight. We communicate. We're going to talk about some of those things you can do to keep an eye out, to communicate with each other, and so we can prevent this from happening any more than it has to. Our biggest problem right now with residential burglaries is... Brian, is there any water? Maybe get some water. If you don't mind? Thanks. Is people going, knocking on your front door, ringing your doorbell, okay? In the past, what we used to tell people was, look, if you don't want to answer the door, especially if you're a child, don't answer the door, right? Just don't answer the door. We want to protect your kids. Well, the problem we're having is these crooks are knocking on your door. Thanks, Lucy. Knocking on your door or ringing your doorbell when you don't answer because you don't want to be bothered like I wouldn't want to be. These guys are going around the back and busting in your door. That's what we're seeing a lot of now. That's the biggest trend we have right now. Okay? So, if someone comes knocking on your door in your home and you hear it, we want you to, at the very least, tell them, hey, if you don't know who it is, I can't talk to you right now. You'll have to come back later. Because if they're up to no good, they're not going to come back later. They're going to want to leave and find somebody that's not home. Okay? Because we don't want them coming in, and we're seeing that a lot. The other problems we're having are construction burglaries, fumigation burglaries, and distraction burglaries. I don't have enough time to go into those, but they're in your handouts. So look at that, and it tells you exactly what those things are. Construction burglaries, obviously homes that are being remodeled. You have appliances there, things like that, right? And people are going to go in. Copper wire, you name it. Windows, whatever. They're going to come in, probably late at night, and clean you out if they can. Okay? So just something to think about. All that information's in your handouts for you. Okay? Trends for vehicle burglaries. Two things. We're getting, our biggest thing is thefts of unlocked vehicles. So just be thinking about that. Please don't leave anything in your car whatsoever. Okay? If you're going to go shopping and you're going to go to the car and drop something off and go back, take the car and drive it somewhere else. I know it's a pain in the butt, especially at Christmas time. If you're at the mall in Arcadia, parking's horrible all the time. But you've got to be thinking about stuff like that. And I can give you story after story of things that have gone on, but we don't have time for that tonight. Okay, so I want to try to show you a video. I know Brian can do it. Vehicles, we're talking about smash windows for cars and how quick and easy it is. So I think I need to go to the next slide. Okay, now what do I do? Brian's my tech guy, so I pay him well.
Rick, can I ask something while you guys are working?
Absolutely, yeah, please.
Mom's purses, when you're out in campus, don't think the school parking lot is safe as well. Take the purses with you when you leave that 5 minutes picking up your kid. Do not leave it there. I know, my car was broken into.
And unfortunately, there was video at the school. We talked about this a couple years ago, but the video wasn't good. Sometimes video helps, sometimes it doesn't, okay? Maybe just double click on it, you should be fine.
Get ceramic. Throw in glass. It's that simple.
Okay, now the ceramic is just like a spark plug for your car. They take a hammer to it, they break it, it's a small piece, and it takes nothing for it to shatter your window. And that was kind of loud. Normally it's not that loud, and you're not going to hear it normally at 2 in the morning. Who woke up for the earthquake? I was fast asleep, sleeping like a baby. I didn't even hear about it until the next morning. Okay, and here's another one, another form of getting into cars, just that simple. Yeah, I think it's gone. Yeah. And it's just a little piece of, it's like a little, kind of like a screwdriver in a way. Just a little piece, and you just push it against the glass and it breaks it. Okay, that's good. Okay, so prevention. How are we going to prevent it? In your packets, you've got the information, okay? But basically, look, like I mentioned before, communicate with your neighbors. Being here is huge, okay? Know what's going on in your neighborhood. And if there's any suspicious activity whatsoever, don't hesitate to call. I can't tell you how many times we've had people after the fact say, yeah, I noticed a car back in my neighbor's driveway. Somebody parked in front, for an hour, call us. But they were afraid to call. They didn't want to be a nuisance. They weren't sure if they should call. We want you to call. Sorry, I'm making you work for your money, huh, Jerry?
Sorry.
Sorry about that. Anyhow, there's other ways to do it. We don't have time to go into it, but you can read it. It's all very simple right here. But the huge key is communication, keeping an eye out, and then calling the station. All right? Okay. Now, the next thing is an interview that I want to show you. It's only about 3 minutes, and I lost Brian. Brian. I'm going to mess it up. I'm telling you right now, I'll mess it up. So, great information. It's only 3 minutes. Listen to this guy. Listen to what he talks about. These are the things that burglars look at and think about before they go right into your home.
Cover is very important. I don't want someone to see me breaking into this house, so the house must have cover, trees, or big tall wooden fences, like people have around the house, around swimming pools, or cover. When I say cover, anything that I can get up close to this house and it'll hide.